Cause water got no enemy. Nah, I ain't commit no felony. What's that issue telling me? You're an open man. I play to me. Gotta go home to my family.
White. Talking shit, stop that, stop it first. Cop popping clips. Kids hit it, they pull up in the whip. Why you talking shit? Stop that, stop it first. Cop popping clips. Kids hit it, they pull up in the whip.
I keep karma on my necklace and I never go to sleep. In the struggle, I stay reckless like I'm already the sea. Working musical construction and I reckon all the beat. If you down for liberation, then I reckon we should meet. Slavery was not abolished, just polished and put in prisons. And the new Jim Crow heard up to the resistance. They drowning us in empty dreams of money, cars and knowing, but we are only free if we fighting for abolition. No matter where you at, I'm within a block away. When the hurricane hits, I'm in the Rockaways. My homies organizing, we take a block a day. Government co-ops and we like not today. They wanna steal our language, so let me hear you say, all power to the people, we here and here to stay. We from all the grams, pops calling out racist cops, spitting fire at the precincts of the genocide. Stop.
We losing all humanity, they fire at our family. Our flow will be the remedy. Cause water got no enemy. Nah, I ain't commit no felony. What's that issue telling me? You're an older man, I play to be. You gotta go home to my family.
It's time to legalize. Too much criminalizing. Voting ain't surprising. Cops on the horizon, hearing everything you say. They bugging your Verizon. Gotta come correct. Yup, can't be looking sloppy. Can't be acting rowdy. If they stop you, can't be rowdy. Can't run, can't be outy. Come if you doubt me. If you thinking like Marley, you'll get got like for Marley. And injustice hardly. That's just for the Barbies and the cans. 1% acting hardy and not hardy while they sing la-di-da-di. Vacation with the Saudis at a party. Pop a Molly in a building built by Gotti. And the gold looks so gaudy. And they call that acting godly. I guess it's the human sacrifice for the body. So are you gonna charge me? Then release me, you ain't bought me. Yeah, you might have caught me, but my great grandma taught me. If love is in my heart, then can't nobody stop me.
Losing all humanity, they fire at our family. Our flow will be the remedy. Cause water got no enemy. Nah, I ain't commit no felony. What's that issue telling me? You're an older man, I play to be. Gotta go home to my family.
Why you talking shit? Stop that, stop it first. Popping clips, kids hit it, they pull up in the whip. Why you talking shit? Stop that, stop it first. Popping clips, kids hit it, they pull up in the whip.
They know we are army, we are the many. They are the few. That's why you guns, auto, semis, Uzis. Cause a weapon like Uzi, they lock, semi, they lock anybody. If they underage, right color shade, rocket right under night sheet. Broad day, even up on Broadway. The Lord ever kept you safe? Nah, you just wasn't someone started behind closed doors. They wasn't talking. All I see is kids that give a bit. It's no where they live if they sell shit. All I see is biz, tell them hit the skids. Ain't nothing you can tell them. From the school to the prison, they gon' tell them. Yeah, they know what's wrong. They got stupid. They're not gonna ask you if you're a criminal. They got a certificate back to subliminal. My hood ain't bad. Not the way they made it. Damn, do what I do to change it. Enough to fucking complain. I can break down who they is. They don't get to say why not. Water got no enemy, but everybody's trying to contain it. Water would make it be free. I'ma let the hook explain it. We go to church with these verses. My verse, but we're still ain't it.
They fire at our family. Our flow will be the remedy. Cause water got no enemy. Nah, I ain't commit no felony. What's that issue telling me? You're an older man, I play to be. Gotta go home to my family.
Why you talking shit? Stop that, stop it first. Popping clips, kids hit the dip, they pull up in the whip. Why you talking shit? Stop that, stop it first. Popping clips, kids hit the dip, they pull up in the whip.
That's exactly what this is. The movement family. That's right.
Hey, everybody. Thank you all for being here. That was a video that was created by the O22 National Coalition. They put together for this year. And I'm really sorry if that video was skipping during that broadcast. I will link that. It's a video that, as you can see, there are families and different folks from across the country joining today, and as they have done for 29 years for a lot of these people. So we have some awesome guests with us today. I am having a little trouble with my camera, guys. It keeps freezing me, so I will be keeping mine off for the moment. I'm going to play an introduction video, and then we will be calling on our first guest speaker. So we're going to go ahead and watch this video. We will bring a family on. This is an impacted family. When I bring the families on, for the families, go ahead and introduce yourself, share where you are, your location, your loved one's name if you are here to represent for your loved one, and then go ahead and do your thing. For anybody watching, thank you for being here, and we appreciate you guys taking the time to be out here with us today. We unfortunately aren't hitting the streets, but we're still trying to do something to raise awareness and stand together. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our O22 virtual event. This is for the 29th Annual National Day of Protest Against Police Brutality. My name is Marissa Barrera, and I am your host today. I am also the sister of Michael Barrera, a victim of police homicide, and I am also the founder of Voices of Strength. I've been in this fight for justice for over 7.5 years since my brother was killed by law enforcement in our hometown of Woodland, California. This journey has been personal, painful, and deeply transformative for me. This day of protest was founded in 1996 by the October 22nd National Coalition to Stop Police Brutality, Repression, and the Criminalization of a Generation. Across the nation, we come together today to honor the lives lost, demand accountability, and resist the systemic violence that disproportionately affects Black, Brown, and marginalized communities. Many are out in the streets, wearing black, standing strong, and fighting back. Here in Sacramento, I've helped organize in person events for October 22nd in the past. Last year, we had an incredible turnout. Impacted families came from all over to join us out of California. However, we were met with heavy pushback from law enforcement during our peaceful protests, which consisted mainly of families and children. It was a clear reminder of the very fight we are in. Although we aren't hitting the streets this year, we still wanted to create a space to stand in solidarity with all the families, advocates, and supporters who are out there today. We've gathered here to engage in meaningful dialogue and share the stories that drive our fight. Today, you will hear from an incredible group of guest speakers, each with their own powerful stories to tell. They have been through unimaginable pain, but they continue to stand strong and speak out for justice. I deeply admire every one of them, and I'm honored to share this platform with them. The Strength is a grassroots organization, and we rely on your support to continue this work. Donations help us to keep organizing events like this and provide further support for impacted families in need. Together, we can continue to show up, fight back, and push for real change. Thank you all for being here today and standing in solidarity with us. Let's continue. Okay, we will be bringing the first set of guest speakers up, and this is a family of a young man who lost his life at the hands of police. I will let the family come on and introduce themselves and their loved one. We have Mary Adam.
Hi, my name is Mary Adam. I'm here with my cousins Anthony and Jennifer Allegrini, and probably family as well, whose son Anthony Allegrini was senselessly murdered by Pennsylvania State Police in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on June 4th, 2023. Thank you, Marissa, for having us. Are we just good to go? I did prepare some things, so I'm just going to kind of plow through to try to get to some of the details of Anthony's case. So I apologize for all the information, but I just want to make sure that we have the opportunity to get it all out there. So Anthony Allegrini Jr., an 18-year-old pure light in this world, drove past a car meet on I-95. And because they arrived so late into the meetup, Anthony drove past it, went all the way to the end of the line of parked cars and pulled over on the shoulder. He was the first car in a line of parked cars. Anthony and his friends turned the car off, got out of the car, and walked back to watch other cars do donuts and things from the shoulder. So there's evidence of this. He was just watching. He was not even participating. Troop K Philadelphia of the Pennsylvania State Police arrived at the scene, and we have to ask ourselves, what would have been their purpose that night? Would it have been to stop and ticket or arrest the drivers of the cars that were disturbing the peace? Or would it have been to clear the road and the area as they typically would do? Or were they arriving ready to make an example out of someone? So after hearing us tell Anthony's story, which purpose do you think Pennsylvania State Police achieved? I'm going to start with just some of the bias and the police profiling. Police profiling comes in many different forms, but profiling based on age and gender is one of them. And this story is about the first two Pennsylvania State troopers that arrived to the scene that night. They pulled up next to an average car of teenage females, and remaining inside of their vehicle and without drawing their weapons, they asked them for their licenses and IDs. Then they pulled up in front of Anthony's vacant car. And when Anthony and the boys were on foot and returned to the car to clear the area and go home, the officers gave no commands. They didn't even acknowledge them when they were on foot. But once the four teenage boys entered what I would describe as a nicer, expensive vehicle with tinted windows, Trooper Robert Sobek Jr. and his partner immediately exited their police cruiser with their weapons drawn without probable cause, aiming their weapons at Anthony and his friends while he was still on the shoulder of the road. The boys in the car thought their drawn weapons were just flashlights, not even realizing that the flashlights were actually at the end of their firearms. And still, no commands were given. As witnesses stated, once he stepped out of his police cruiser, it only took Robert Sobek Jr. 10 to 15 seconds to pull the trigger through the front windshield, striking Anthony with one bullet fired as he was looking back, attempting to merge. He didn't even see it coming. In terms of protocols and policies broken here, at that time, Pennsylvania State Police were not equipped with body cameras. They used dash cameras with audio recording devices that they wore on their chest. Upon arrival, the officers intentionally positioned themselves in front of Anthony's car, intentionally pointing their dash camera towards a wall. Not only that, but they had their audio recording devices turned off and left them hanging on the sun visors of their police cruiser. They had ample time to equip themselves properly when responding to the scene if they wanted to. After Anthony was shot, his car drifted off the shoulder and into the road. He was able to stop the car and put it in park before anyone else was injured. The two officers forced the boys out of the car and onto the ground. After continuing to aim his firearm at Anthony, who was rolling around on the ground bleeding, Robert Sobek Jr. turned his back to Anthony to peer into Anthony's car, indicating that Anthony is not a threat to him in any way. Why is he looking in the car? For a reason to shoot. Except he found nothing. No weapons, no drugs, no threat whatsoever. But then Sobek turned back around, aimed his state-issued firearm at Anthony once again while he was on the ground bleeding, still very much alive. Then, when a witness and another innocent bystander asked Sobek, "Why did you shoot him?" Sobek angrily pivoted, lunged towards, and aimed his firearm at that innocent witness's face. This is on video. Meanwhile, Anthony was still on the ground bleeding and crying for help. Mind you, Robert Sobek Jr. was a combat medic, meaning everyone listening to this right now have all paid money to train him in life-saving tactics from gunshot wounds. For an outrageous amount of time, Sobek and his partner refused Anthony medical aid after they were the ones that shot him, circling his body as he bled out and asked for help. Sobek and his partner prevented medical care, such as an ambulance, from accessing Anthony. They directly prevented him from receiving life-saving medical attention. Witnesses can be heard in videos crying, begging, and pleading for the officers to help Anthony, even saying at one point, "What the hell is wrong with you? You're just standing there. Help him." This is all on video. On top of that, this horrific tragedy occurred only 5 minutes from a world-renowned trauma center, Jefferson Hospital in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now let's talk quickly about evidence. The Pennsylvania State Police later claimed that they were struck by Anthony's vehicle, suffering leg injuries, and that's why Sobek fired. However, various pieces of evidence show that was impossible. One including the autopsy report, which says that the entry wound from the shooter's vantage point was down and to the left, right? So this shows that the bullet entered from a side angle, meaning Sobek was not in front of the vehicle. And I've never seen anyone struck by a vehicle while standing next to it. Not to mention, there's a video of the moment the trigger was pulled. Both headlights are clearly visible, indicating Sobek and his partner were both on the sides of the vehicle. Furthermore, there's absolutely no evidence of any leg injury of any kind. 0 witnesses saw them limping. 0 videos show them limping. 0 witnesses heard complaints of pain. 0 videos indicate they were in any pain whatsoever as they paced the scene and circled Anthony's body. Also, Anthony's car had equipment that would indicate any type of collision, and there was no collision. There was no damage to Anthony's car. Now that you have more information, what do you think the state trooper's purpose was that night? More importantly, how would you feel if that were your child left to die on the side of the road? Please feel free to ask us any and all questions that you may have. We are an open book and we are happy to talk about it. We are happy to answer any and all questions that you have. In terms of call to action, if you could please follow our social media accounts for more detailed information on the case and for updates. We have things in the works and we do need your support. You could never imagine the battle that we have to fight against a state agency and political figures. So we need every single voice that we can get. So on Instagram, @about Anthony Allegrini Jr. talks a lot about the details and events of the case. @this is Anthony Allegrini Jr. is a page dedicated to remembering just what an incredible young man Anthony was and what a bright future he had. On TikTok, my bad. On TikTok, @Anthony Allegrini Jr. And please, please, please check out our YouTube account as well, dedicated to exposing the truth about June 4th, 2023. That's @Anthony Allegrini Jr. as well. And the final thing I'd like to say, if I could just have like one more minute. We have also started a 501c3 foundation in Anthony's name, the Anthony Allegrini Jr. Foundation. And the mission of the foundation is to provide youth in our community access to the sport that Anthony loved so much, which is ice hockey. The foundation helps offset club fees and equipment costs for youth that want to play the sport, but don't have the means to do so. So we'll be holding our 2nd annual Pucks for Purpose Charity Cup in Aston, Pennsylvania, with all proceeds to benefit the foundation and to promote the sport. If you're interested in submitting a team, please reach out to us. If you're interested in making a tax-deductible donation to the foundation, they can be made at anthonyallegrinijr.com. That's ANTHONYALLEGRINIJR.com. Thank you so much to Marissa from Voices of Strength for organizing this incredibly special event and providing all of us with this opportunity to share. And to all survivors and families of victims of police brutality, we stand with you and we love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing, and really appreciate you guys coming on. Was there anything else that Anthony and Jennifer wanted to share before we close up and go to the next guest?
Sorry, we lost our camera. I don't know what happened. No, I think Mary pretty much covered it all. It's really just hard to talk about.
What kind of human being
It's
was
a
he?
constant struggle. And, we're thankful for any support that we can get.
And we will link the stuff that you guys shared. I will make sure to link that. So for future watching, they can go to all the links that you shared right from here. Okay, thank you so much. We're going to go to our next guest. This is another family that I have highlighted before on Voices of Strength. This is the family of Jesse Lee Rose. He was the teenager who was killed. By police. I will let the family go ahead, and we have his mother and his sister coming on. I will let them take the stage and introduce yourself, introduce your loved one, and share. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Shania Rose. This is my mom, Christine Rose. My brother, Jesse Lee Rose, was murdered on July 14th, 2013. My brother was targeted, stalked, and gunned down, and cuffed and kicked and dragged around in a park. It was done by a racist mafia cop in a mafia-run city known as Utica, New York. They then tortured him to death in the hospital that they brought him to, where the mother of the killer cop had a higher-up position. She was given a job in the Oneida County government 8 days later. The most evil of the evil are often the ones running these communities. My brother was a 19-year-old clean-cut, shy kid, and they have destroyed his reputation and his death to cover up their crimes. My family has been devastated ever since this happened.
Yes. Anthony Ellis is the name of the officer who followed no protocol and ran into an empty park. It was empty when he ran in there and shot my son down because there had been a call about a white man ran through the park shooting a gun. My son is Native American. He was a darker toned skinned Native American. He was never called white in his life. It was not him. He was set up. And we have pictures, photos of the person who was there in the park, who had been threatening his life along with his actual gang member family that lived across the street from us. Nothing was ever done about the stalking and harassment. Police were also doing it because my oldest son, Jory, was named as a witness in a police brutality case against the Utica Police Department. We endured years of harassment and stalking and surveillance that we didn't even realize or understand why it was going on, because we're just regular law-abiding folks. They brutalized my son with false arrests in the weeks before they killed him in the park. They did a cover-up. We have endured, and it's been 11 years, and we've still endured police stalking, gaslighting, gang stalking, stalking by police, community members participating, not everybody, of course, just the ones that are in with the deep state police state.
And just to provide a little bit more context, weeks before Jesse was murdered in the park, he was, like my mother said, he was falsely arrested. This was by Officer Simpy, and it was no coincidence that we later found out that Officer Simpy graduated in the same police academy class as Anthony Ellis, the officer who murdered my brother about, 6 to 8 weeks after Jory testified?
It was 8 weeks after Jory testified against that police officer who committed police brutality. On Jory's graduation celebration. They beat Jory, but they beat his friend so bad they put his friend in the hospital, so the friend's family brought a lawsuit. They tasered him and just did terrible things. And it was their graduation night, and they were just out celebrating like everybody else, and they singled them out. But anyways, The mother of Anthony Ellis, Phyllis Donato Ellis. She was vice president and trauma coordinator for the hospital they brought my son to. Now, mind you, they didn't, nor all the many people that knew Jesse and our family, nobody for 6 hours came to our door and let us know what happened to him, even though people knew. The police were out sitting outside of our house down the street watching. The gang that had been harassing us were on the other side watching. So no one came knocking. So they tortured him in that hospital and made sure he died instead of sending him to Syracuse or Albany, where they could have saved his life. His mother was in charge of trauma for the St. Elizabeth's Hospital. She was given a job 8 days later by Oneida County Executive Pacenti as the Oneida County Health Director. She was there about 7 years, I believe. And from what I've been told, she destroyed the place. And now she works as a director of the health at Oneida County Sheriff's Department. The mayor of Utica at the time was in the park during the investigation, Mayor Palmieri, for 20 minutes behind the yellow tape. They investigated themselves, even though the New York State Troopers were on site. But Anthony Ellis's father is a retired state trooper. And the New York State Troopers have been the ones that have harassed us the worst, literally trying to run us off the road to kill us more than once. Chuck Schumer was in town that day. It was Boilermaker Day, road race. Just a few months after we had filed our lawsuit in federal court, he nominated a judge in that district court. Now, the 14 judges of these district court, she's the one that got her case, and she gave it qualified immunity. There was no justice, no consideration of justice, just a murder of my son. He shot him in the center of his chest and in his hand because his hands were up. And he is saying, I didn't do anything. They have no idea how many people came through and told us what they saw and that they did not see a gun because he did not have a gun. The main witness that did do a deposition, they did not allow the deposition to be heard in the case. She saw clearly Anthony Ellis running into the park and gunning my son down, hitting him center of the chest. The local councilman had told me, who lived in that area, to get a copy of the hospital report before it disappears. I did so. All through the hospital report, it states in big print, like they wanted us to know, and they wanted everybody to know. The cop shot him multiple times. The diagram showed the center of the chest and the hand. They did a cover-up all the way through the system.
And also another fact to remember is Anthony Ellis, the officer who murdered my brother, already had a civil rights lawsuit previously filed against him before he killed my brother. A year before. Almost to the day. Oh yeah, almost to the day. So it says a lot that he had, a history of this violence, and nothing was ever done about that. And unfortunately, he was given the power to continue his job and abuse his power.
There is a lot to this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and for anybody watching, we have had the chance to sit down with Jesse's mother, and we have her full interview, which she got more into detail. So that can be watched on this exact channel. So everybody we've done an interview with you guys can always refer back to those. And just like we've heard, the details are disturbing and it's creepy, it's eerie, and it's wrong. So Jesse, we think about him a lot when I'm sharing posts. You know, I think of him as a 19-year-old teenager that was barely starting his life. So we
Yes.
will continue to say justice for Jesse Lee Rose. Is there
So
anywhere
much
before?
everybody
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah, and we've been getting a lot of comments too. So you're getting lots of support. People are hearing Jesse's name. Before we go on to the next guest, I just want to ask, do you guys have a justice page or a site or somewhere that people could go to learn more as well, or follow your guys' journey?
Justice for Jesse. If you go, you can go on
Was on Facebook?
on Facebook, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Justice for Jesse Facebook page.
Awesome. Okay, great. And I will add that link to here too after we finish up. So thank you, ladies, so much for coming and sharing. You know, I know how hard it is to come on and share these details. So we appreciate you. We're gonna go on to the next guest, which we have you guys watching. We have a lot of people here today from impacted families, survivors of police brutality, folks fighting against wrongful convictions. So you guys will hear crazy stuff, and this is our real life. So thank you, ladies, and I will bring on our next guest.
Thank you so much.
thank you.
You're welcome. My video, you guys, is still kind of being a little strange. So for everybody watching on YouTube, on Facebook, just thank you guys for your comments and support. Please help share this, invite this to folks, and thank you for being here. I hope you guys are wearing black and standing with us today in solidarity for this day. I do want to give a shout out to all the other folks hitting the streets today. There are actions all over the country right now taking place or have started already. Okay, bringing on our next guest. Here we have another impacted sibling. I will let you introduce yourself, introduce your loved one, and your location.
Hello. Thank you, Marissa and Voices of Strength, for holding this event for the 29th National Day of Protest Against Police Brutality and for your continued work with victims and families. It's an honor to be here with other families and survivors impacted by police violence and fighting to bring an end to it. My name is Castile, and in 2004, my brother Herbert Hightower Jr., a father, son, brother, friend, and beloved community member, was murdered by former Seattle Assistant Police Chief Steve Herjak while Herbert was experiencing a mental health crisis. At the time of Herbert's murder, we were given different versions of events from the police as to what led up to the shooting, and even now, 20 years later, still do not feel we know what happened. Instead of being held accountable for murdering Herbert, his killer, Steve Herjak, went on to receive several promotions, was involved in the investigations of at least 2 other Black people murdered by Seattle police, as well as trained numerous police officers both in and out of Washington state with the very officer he was with the night he took Herbert's life. Herjak retired this year with a settlement worth upwards of $800,000 over his command in connection to egregious police brutality, where police officers use chemical weapons on peaceful Black Lives Matter and police accountability protesters in 2020 during what was infamously coined the Pink Umbrella Incident. The mayor is now cruelly working to reverse restrictions on those very weapons. Like most families impacted by police brutality, we received no help from official sources, no help navigating city bureaucracy, or with the financial cost and strain on our mental and physical health, including struggling to bury Herbert after he was murdered by Seattle police while his murderer sat on paid administrative leave. This created generational trauma that is still present today. Determined not to allow other families to go through what mine had and so many like mine had. In both 2020 and 2023, I worked to help pass legislation to create an office dedicated to providing direct and adequate resources to victims of police violence and their families, the Affected Persons Program. Although both times the legislation was successfully passed, they were ultimately obstructed by Seattle's current mayor's office, as well as multiple offices created under Seattle's federal consent decree to hold the police accountable, not get in the way of resources for victims and families, with the second obstruction causing me to be at risk of losing my home due to the city refusing to back pay me for the work I did as the program manager prior to cutting it to increase the police budget, amongst other programs that were BIPOC and uh, led by marginalized communities throughout Seattle, I wanted to mention. But we won't give up because our loved ones, our families, our communities, and our lives are worth fighting for. Instead of fighting for an office through the city's budget process, we are now fighting for an initiative to be placed on the ballot to ensure that victims of police violence and their families be given the resources we still urgently need. Resources including covering funeral and burial costs, attorney fees, PI fees, mental health resources, child care costs, travel costs, medical expenses, loss of wages, assistance navigating an often hostile and re traumatizing bureaucracy, and more. Resources that work to address not just the initial harm of police brutality, but the generational violence that it perpetually inflicts, creating a place where material needs are met, as well as the formation of a community that both addresses these issues while centering the voices of those most impacted. If you would like to stay up to date and support our work and our efforts towards an affected persons program in Seattle, consider donating to my coffee located at ko-fi.com/C Hightower. And follow us on social media under Justice for Herbert Hightower. Justice for Herbert Hightower Jr., justice for all victims of police brutality. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that was a great presentation. And love, I love everything you're doing and got going on and the goals we have towards, what we're doing as an impacted person. We know that what we do can't bring our loved ones back. So I hope people feel us when they hear us and understand that our work, it's not, we're not getting our loved ones back. We're really trying to make change. So I appreciate you coming on and speaking. And yeah, we've gotten a lot of comments that I can't keep up with. For those listening, thank you all for your comments. Keep showing love to the families. It is not easy to come on here and share, but all of our loved ones' stories need to be heard and uplifted. So appreciate you for being here, and we will get
Thank
ready
you.
to go on to the next speaker. You're welcome. You're welcome. And again, everybody watching, just continue to go ahead and share this broadcast for us. Share with folks you feel may have something to learn, or even impacted folks. If you guys are here listening with us, other impacted families, drop your loved one's name and show us that you're here with us. We're all standing together. We hope to have more future conversations like this and have more guests up here to share our loved ones' stories together. And with the guests, you guys will see it's not just our stories that we're sharing. You'll see as listening to more guests, a lot of people have put in a lot of work and have built their own organizations, groups, just a lot of strong people out here. So we're gonna go ahead and go to the next guest. I want to bring a Jazz, if you're ready. This is a friend of Derek Gaines. Happy to have you here. There you are. Thank you so much for being here. So yeah, you could go ahead and introduce yourself, introduce Derek, and go ahead and share with the audience. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay, thank you. Hey everyone. I go by Jazz. Thank you everyone for being here. I'll be looking over a little bit because I'm reading off a phone. But thank you, Marissa and Voice of Strength, for putting this on. I'm here to talk a little bit about in honor of my dear friend, Derek Gaines, whose life was stolen at age 15. June 5th, 2012, at the hands of Pig Joshua Cabillo, who at the time was actually new to South San Francisco PD, but he already had a track record. He was a cop on school campus, actually the one that Derek had went to school to. He had even told other youth he would kill them one day. So there was no video footage at the time. There was a witness that didn't even know Derek that had a strong testimony against Cabillo, that Cabillo had actually pistol whipped Derek before shooting him. Sorry, my phone froze a little bit. Yeah, sorry. So that he had pistol whipped Derek before shooting him, and she was ignored. So he was never charged with anything. He moved to SFPD, where he continued to terrorize community, and has had multiple incidents even up until just a year and a half ago. And after Derek was shot by Cabillo, the police even had gone to the wrong station, and they took him to the farthest hospital. So it was in a whole nother city and under John Doe, so his family couldn't even find him. So there was never any justice for Derek. From the get, he was dehumanized, criminalized, and his name was dragged through the dirt. They say they killed twice when someone's killed by police. First them, and second their character. So at that time, it felt so hard to advocate, because you go online and you see so many people blaming, Derek. I was hurt and angry. I shut down for a bit, and a lot of our friends did, because we were really young, and it was super devastating. We were all trying to survive already the school to prison pipeline. Most of us were already on probation or in the system at a young age. Derek had just called me on my birthday 4 days before, and I had just made like 15 years old too, and it was summer break when he was killed. He was just waiting for his ride home. At the time, we were so young, dealing with so much, still trying to figure out, facing the world, even though the world thought it had us figured out. The family had held press conferences, went to City Hall, petitioned, protested, all that. But over time, it just got harder and harder. And with no support, things slowed down. But we never stopped. The community and youth kept honoring Derek. And then summer 2020 happened. George Floyd got killed. Sean Monterosa, who we also grew up with, got killed the day after my birthday. And right before Derek's anniversary, Breonna Taylor, I had to come back outside. And the people came outside, and I started to finally really advocate hard for Derek and against the police. Through that, I met other impacted families and loved ones, and heard so many other unknown stories that never got much awareness. I found community that lived with a similar pain, but also what kept them fighting and living. The reality is that it's hard, but police killing shouldn't exist. So no one should have to go through this, and many families that are struggling with life and living with this grief have no support. So I started holding space for families and loved ones, holding vigils to support each other and shed light on these stories and these humans their lives were stolen. But at the end of the day, justice is them being alive here today. Derek was a gem. He was always laughing and smiling. He looked out for others. I always tell the story of where he walked me home, even though it was the whole opposite direction, because that's the kind of person Derek was. He loved music. He was always freestyling, and even was working on his own music label. I get emotional because he had so many dreams. He could make friends with anybody, anywhere. Derek will never be forgotten, and his legacy will live on. No pig could ever take away the essence and the impact he made, and the same for your loved ones. He forever changed my life, and I always carry what he shared with me and honor him. I've learned through over a decade of living this and organizing, you can't reform this. We need to defund and abolish the police. From here to Palestine, they are murdering children and people. It's the same system. Learning and practicing abolition brought me some hope. While we have to live in this world where they exist and don't want us to, we could build community, and the power is really in the people and the land. There was a world before police, and there will be a world after. If you'd like to join us and stay in touch and updated, please follow Just Us for Derek Gaines. That's JUSTUS. Right now, we're working on trying to curate a project in memory of Derek for young music artists like him called Just Us instead of Justice, because it's just us. If not us, then who? Our loved ones may be gone, but their spirit isn't, and the next generations need us. Remembrance is power, so we get together for Derek's anniversary every year and throughout the year support other families. We've been
Jaws,
doing it
I'm
all
sorry.
across.
Can you speak up a little bit? Because
Oh,
they're saying they can't hear you well.
oh, sorry. Did you hear anything?
I
Okay.
heard you, but then I saw some comments that they can't hear you that well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so I was just saying that we get together for Derek's anniversary every year and throughout the year to support other families. And like we just been doing it all grassroots with like no city funding, no police funding, just communities. So we invite you all to join us in that and are always open to donations or opportunities for, you know, for things to make this happen. Uh, One thing I've always emphasized and will continue to is to support directly impacted families and support young people every chance you get, not just on anniversaries, but whenever, because these aren't just names, these are real people in your community and they need love and support. So thank you so much. Love and solidarity to you all.
Thank you so much. And again, I've told you before, I just love to see how you continue to show up and you support the family and you've been there. I met you from following the page, so thank you again. So happy to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, guys, we are going to go to the next speaker. As I mentioned, we have a lot of folks here, and the next one is not a death by police, but they have a whole story to tell. This is a friend of mine now. We've met through this, and I'm going to bring her on now. Yvonne Chavez. She also runs the Wrongfully Convicted, and you can go ahead and introduce yourself and go from there.
Okay, hi. My name is Yvonne Chavez, and I'm a sister of a wrongfully convicted man. His name is Anthony was wrongfully in 1996 and 1997 for a crime he did. It was a killing of one of my peers from high school. He was 4 at the time, and instead of doing a proper investigation and something similar that we have where the police frame the investigation how they want, so that happened in our case where the true perpetrators were never sought. The matter, what matters that police had 2 individuals that they racially profiled. It was reality can manifest in different ways. It can, in the death of loved ones. It can also manifest in wrongful convictions. Some of that transpired in ours were a course of interrogation. They have these tactics where they lead you with fear. They threaten you with higher convictions. They tell you they'll throw the death penalty, and a lot goes into it. Another is that they taint eyewitness testimony. They coerce them to say, what they want to say in order for it to coincide with the crime. And this is what happened in our case. They fed them with circumstantial evidence, or rather framed evidence, that led to their conviction falsely against my brother and Jose. I just want to make sure that the audio is fine, Marissa. Also, the lack of accountability, it can foster in a culture of enforcement where misconduct often goes unpunished. So that's something, again, that we have very similar in our end. And, racial bias, pressure to solve crimes. In our instance, individuals can go wrongfully convicted and imprisoned for decades. My brother is facing 28 years in November 8th, as well as Jose Beltran. They essentially had their whole adulthood deprived of them. And, addressing these issues can help uncover other wrongful convictions. It can help bring them home and exonerate them. So it's just framing evidence in our case. It's so much fact. The victims, they never find the true perpetrator. So they always go with the thought of not knowing who killed their loved ones or harmed them. And our community is unsafe where the two perpetrators continue to harm. So there's a lot of correlation. And I know it's different. I know that I still have my brother. So my heart goes out to you guys that don't have your family member here. And again, we're from Los Angeles. The call to action will be, if you can follow our Instagram, the wrongfully convicted. We also have a petition right now calling for the Attorney General and DA to expand the conviction integrity unit that reviews innocence claims. So currently they're reviewing about 200. They're very understaffed, under-resourced. They have about 20 prosecutors that I last knew 2 months ago, and they have investigators. So far, there have been 14 exonerations, but there are many behind. And a lot of these officers who serve, even the DAs, the district attorneys, that falsely put these people behind, knowing that the evidence was false, continue to serve. So a long fight ahead of us, and I thank you guys. I know this is a different story. It's not a common story that everyone hears, but I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you, Yvonne, for sharing. And sorry again for the viewers that I can't be on camera. My camera is just being crazy. I just want folks. I just want folks to know that I've learned a lot from Yvonne and her advocacy work. Her brother has been wrongfully convicted for it's a lifetime. It's been, and I really support this family. I appreciate the work, the hard work. I see it that she's putting in every day to help her brother and others that are also wrongfully convicted. So thank you again, Yvonne. And again, everybody who's here, hanging out with us, listening to these stories, we appreciate you. They're not fun. We're not here because it's exciting and it's a fun thing for us to do, but we're here trying to raise awareness and support each other. So I will go on our next guest. I'm going to go on to the next guest, who is a survivor of a brutal police attack. After that, I will be sharing a video and then a short break before we go to our next guest. But this victim, I call her survivor. I will let her introduce herself. But we have recently connected. Her story made national news, and yeah, she has some words to share with us today, guys. And Christiana Porter.
Hi guys, can you see me? Sorry.
Yeah, I could kind of see you. I had issues with
me-
mine, so.
Let me turn my camera around. I don't know what's going on. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
It does look like it might be mirrored. It might have the mirror effect on. And no worries. Yeah, you guys, let's see. The camera did not want me on today. I was prepared myself, but technical issues at times arise. Again, to the folks watching, people leaving comments, continue to share comments, put your loved one name in there as well. Always encourage that.
Yes. So, hi everybody. My name is Christiana Porter, and I feel like I'm very fortunate to be a survivor. I have been getting chills this whole time listening to all the families of loved ones who unfortunately are not here with us. And my heart goes out to you as well, Marissa, and justice for your brother as well. It's very unfortunate that this thing of police brutality has been going on for so long, and I stand in solidarity with every single person on this live stream of fighting the good fight for justice. It's time for us to make noise and get in good trouble and keep applying the pressure to the proper legalities, authorities, and the higher powers who may be in order to get the change we need to hear. So my story, my name is Christiana Porter. I'm a recent survivor of police brutality. July 29th, 2024, I was brutally victimized by Joshua McFall, who is a San Francisco police officer. I was literally just walking in a crosswalk, but his reason for stopping me was that I was jaywalking. How can you jaywalk and you're in a crosswalk? And I thought the pedestrian had the right of way. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I had on noise canceling headphones, which you can clearly see in the video. And because I was listening to music, he took it upon himself to try to stop me. And then because I didn't hear him as I'm listening to my headphones, he drives onto oncoming traffic to stop me for jaywalking. After a couple seconds of me asking him, like, what did I do wrong? I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just walking down the street. I'm minding my business, just crossing the street in a jaywalk. And then so after I asked him, what did I do wrong? He proceeded to ask me my name, where was I going? What business did I have in this neighborhood? Mind you, I'm in San Francisco in a predominantly white, Asian American neighborhood, which has a population of 0.1% Black people and also Latinx. Let's just put that out there. So the moment I ask him, what am I doing? He ignores me and immediately takes out his taser. And so upon that, I'm like, what are you being aggressive for? I didn't do anything to you. And so once I start walking away, because I clearly know my rights as a civilian and he had no context to stop me, he tells me to give him my identification, which I did. Upon me grabbing my identification, I had to go into my purse to grab my ID. And so when I reach into my purse to grab my ID, he reaches for his firearm and says, what are you doing? Get your hands out of your bag, get on the ground. And then I immediately threw my hands up and told him, I don't have anything. I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, what are you doing? I immediately got terrified and just frozen, stuck. And so the moment he sees that my hands are up, he starts reaching for me. And I just back up. I start backing up. Like, what are you doing? I didn't do anything to you. And so at that moment, he grabs me. And the first thing he does is slam my head against a brick wall. And then slams the rest of my body against a brick wall. And upon doing that, he lodges his elbow onto the right side of my back. And at this point, I feel my air supply getting cut off. And I tell him, I can't breathe. What are you doing? Please stop. And then he tells me I'm resisting. Naturally, when you have no air supply, your body starts jerking. And I tell him, I'm not resisting. And so after I tell him I'm not resisting, he calls for backup. 3 or 4 other male officers rush up to the scene and immediately attack me, pin me further against the wall to arrest me on the scene. All of this for jaywalking in a crosswalk. Now, mind you, after all this happens, they escort me before they escort me to the police car, they handcuff me. So they arrest me on site and escort me to their police car and cite me out for a jaywalking citation and also resisting a quote unquote peace officer. At this point, there's enough bystanders who were outraged by the whole situation and yelling at the officers that Christiana did not do nothing. She did not do anything. What are you doing? The light changed as she was walking in the crosswalk. And so for Me, I have been severely emotionally distressed. I've been super just timid, anxious to go outside. I'm a single mother of 5, and I feel like everything happens for a reason, and there's a reason why I was able to survive this circumstance, because it's time for us to make noise and rally against this police brutality. Like, there was no way he should have brutalized me the way he did for jaywalking in a crosswalk. And now I am suffering sustained injuries from this incident. I have a separated right shoulder, which I have to go to physical therapy for. And if physical therapy doesn't work for me, I might have to do surgery, outpatient surgery for my shoulder, with also torn ligaments that connect to my clavicle. So sometimes I feel like I'm choking on my own spit or drowning in my body. And now, as of less than a week ago, I am recently diagnosed with a brain injury. So on top of the psychological damage, I have to go to brain therapy rehab for 10 to 12 weeks off of the damage this officer did to me. And on top of everything, I'm a single mother of 5. I can't even take care of my kids properly because I have to take care of myself. And I feel so bad trying to heal myself and advocate for myself, because it's like, what about my kids? So at this point, I did feel very isolated, because there aren't so many survivors. And if there are survivors, people are scared to speak up. It takes a lot of courage to speak up. And for me, with my brain injury, it takes a lot more pressure. It puts a lot more pressure on my head and my capability to even speak. But I'm so thankful for Marissa for providing this platform and a safe space, because this has reactivated my activism. I have been applying pressure to the San Francisco politicals, and in particular, Mayor Breed, as of why she has not said anything. District Attorney Brooke Jenkins, why have you not said anything other than dropping my charges? Like, it makes no sense. And I want to keep speaking up now, because thank you, Marissa, for inspiring me and motivating me. Because, like, if I don't speak up for me, I can at least speak up for those coming after me and for my children, because I'd be damned if this happens to them.
Yes. Gosh, you know what? God, I'm glad you said that. I hear this a lot. I've met a lot of survivors of police brutality. I just want to share why I feel like you guys are so important. And folks like Yvonne, you guys, if you guys are in spaces like this, I hear you guys often say, I haven't lost somebody. So I just want you guys to know you're just as important, because your life has been impacted severely and damaged from these police, and they've gotten away with it. I feel like we are in the same fight. When I first started, because my brother was murdered by the police, I was sharing the stories of those killed by police, interview after interview after interview. And over years, I've met more survivors, people who have had factually wrongful convictions. And I just see us in the same fight. And I'm glad that you feel supported in this space. And if that's why I keep doing this. That's part of why I keep doing this, because I know there are a lot of us out there who just need a little support and a community, and it's very isolating when you've been involved in something like this.
I appreciate this, Marissa.
Yeah. And again, any call to actions, I know you have the GoFundMe out there. We put that in the comments for you. And any last words you'd like to share? I feel like there are a lot more survivors out there than we know, because a lot of people, they keep their stories to themselves.
Yes, and I want to reach out to those people. I want us to all collectively band together, and any support groups that anyone has, I'm definitely willing to join and be a voice for those who just need a little encouragement, a little like a battery in their back to even just keep going. And also, I just want to be go on podcasts, Marissa, and talk about this more and get this out to the masses, because if we all stand in solidarity, there's strength in numbers, and we could apply the pressure for change. Like seriously, that's where I'm at. Just speaking up more. I do have an Instagram for those who would like to follow me. It's my first name, Christiana, ChristianaAAJay on Instagram, and Christiana J on Facebook.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much again for coming, and we will continue to have these conversations. What I found is the more I speak out, the more I share, whether it's my brother's story or somebody else, I just keep meeting more people who are like, hey, that happened to me too. That happened to
Yeah.
my family. All right. Again, thank you so much for joining us and being willing to share your story. Your story is powerful, and we stand with you. So if any, updates, you need support, just holler at us and we will be there to help you.
Thank you, Marissa.
You're welcome. Okay, you guys, I am going to play a couple videos. So thank you to everybody who's still here. I know this was a 3-hour event. I just really wanted to give the platform to I know hundreds and hundreds of impacted families. I'm not exaggerating, and survivors and activists, advocates, people in this fight. So this is just a pinch of people. There are so many more folks who can have joining us. So I did take the time to intro. I wanted to give the space to the people joining us. And I felt like I've shared my brother's story a lot. And a lot of people following me do know his story. So I wanted to do something a little different for my time. I wanted to share 2 short videos before we go to the next guest. The first one is to uplift a woman who was killed by the police. And this is a woman who had mental health issues, and she's also a mother. So I had created a short video for her. Her name is Monica Vout, and I will bring that on the screen and play that. And sorry, guys, this is a little, it's a little graphic, as you can hear some gunshots. So just trigger warnings to anybody who may need to not listen to this. So it's just going to be like a 1.5-minute video, I believe. So just give me a few seconds, guys.
This car that was driving in my lane, like going straight towards me to hit me, and I had to literally nail my horn. And they went over 3 lanes like they were drunk or something. I don't know.
I'm sorry, you guys. I thought you guys could hear me. My apologies. I was talking and I thought you guys could hear me. But so the video, I know it went through super quick. This is a video that I created for impacted family. The daughter reached out to me and she had feelings that a lot of impacted feelings have. Her mother was murdered. They had the video. Well, her mother was shot and killed during a mental health crisis. So they have the video. The mother had actually called for help herself. So the woman who was shot, Monica, called the police. She felt that somebody was following her as she was driving. So she actually drove herself to the police station while she was calling them and informing them that she was driving there, that she felt someone, as you guys could hear in the clips. So she showed up and surrounded by men, and honestly, they shot her up, and they knew of her. They had interactions with her. They knew she was mentally ill. And this is a problem that we continue to see. I couldn't tell you how many families that I know personally now have called the police on their loved ones during a mental health crisis. And at times, some of these victims have called the police themselves. So I wanted to highlight Monica, and I also wanted to show this clip because I know we have other impacted families and folks who are in their own advocacy journeys. And these type of pieces of clips of videos, they are helpful to get our stories out there. I have made different ones for my brother over the years and just different families. And this is a good way for us to summarize our loved one's story and get it out there. Because one thing I was mentioning, the daughter felt like, she knew her mom was wrongly killed, yet why does it seem like nobody cares? And that is what a lot of impacted families and people who have been impacted by the system feel like, especially when new killings happen and it seems like the whole country talks about them. But there are so many who are going unnoticed. So before we move on, I just want to share one more clip of my own. This is it's a sneak peek clip. So this is for a sneak peek for an upcoming series of videos that I will be releasing from my own brother's story. And this is highlighting the killer cops. I know some people watching with us. I know one of the families, she just got the photo of her dad's killer. And so that's one thing, when our loved ones are killed, these cops, they get away with it, first of all. And then they don't get exposed very often unless we're the ones doing it. We have to do it ourselves. So I want to show you guys what I started. Again, this is just my sneak peek. 5 officers were involved in my brother's murder. He was targeted and brutally assaulted. So this is my first, the first video. And I didn't know this officer before she killed my brother. So I'm going to play this and then we will get to the next guest. Blue Lives Murder. Exposing the cops who took my brother's life. Today we'll be focusing on Officer Hannah Gray with the Elk Grove Police Department, Grove, California. My name is Marissa Barrera, and I've spent years fighting back against police terrorism and violence. As a woman, I've had to face many grown men in uniforms, armed, dangerous, and more scared than I am, with their hands ready on their guns simply because I am watching them, recording them, and using my voice. For the sake of this series, I want to start with someone that I once knew, someone that I once organized a youth event with. A meeting that, in hindsight, feels like a sick joke to me. And I'm talking about Officer Hannah Gray. Hannah Gray, currently with the Elk Grove Police Department, was once an officer with the Woodland Police Department. She's also a wife to Matthew Gray, also an officer with the Woodland Police Department. and a mother to 2 children. But those roles don't absolve her from the truth of who she is and what she's done. Yes, Hannah, it's time to talk about you. All right, guys, so we are getting we've gotten some time in, we've seen a bunch of guests, we've gotten to hear some different stories from different people. So thank you again for being here. Let's go ahead and move on to the next guest. I will bring him on. Hello, Omar.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you for being here. Glad your technology is working better than mine today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, your background, your location, a little bit about your background, and what you'd like to share with the audience.
All praises due to the Creator. And I want to thank you and everyone else who fighting against the brutality of police, corruption, and injustice, and violence. And my condolences to all the families who have lost anyone that they care about and love, and also to anyone who's experienced brutality, violence, and injustice at the hands of the police establishment. My name is Omar Gent. Right now I'm in Florida. I spent nearly 15 years wrongfully in prison, incarcerated, something I did not do in Sterling Correctional Facility in Sterling, Colorado. About 2 years ago, well, I spent a year and a day in a halfway house. That's a long story. And now I'm home October 10th next year, that I'm actually home in Florida. And, you know, often when I was incarcerated, especially during the protests with, you know, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and all the other names and various people that popped up over the years, known and unknown to mainstream media, I would see it from my cell, and I would make the connection of the violence that was going on in the courtroom against, you know, Black and brown people and Native people as well. Basically, anybody who isn't a part of the mainstream society. I just saw a lot of the violence, as far as, you know, excessive seeing police corruption, evictions. I saw attacks in prison, especially during the summer protests that were very violent. And when it came to correctional officers on inmates, and it seemed that like that summer just heightened the tension that was already there, especially with the establishment coming in, trying to throw their weight around and maybe fearing the potential uprising. So even though I personally didn't experience any physical brutality, but a big portion of my life was taken away because of the violence of unjust imprisonment, and racism in the courtroom, and just separating people from their inalienable rights. And basically, I was waiting for Marissa to come in. Now, basically, that's just my story, my background, and what I'm here to do is to help encourage those who are in this fight with me, and to be encouraged by those who stand up, you know, against injustice, and who fight, and we're not afraid to speak up. I was moved by the woman you just had on, by her story, the cowardly attacks. I mean, this is a woman, you know, that you're moving against. Not to say that it's right against anyone, but when I hear about how the police are making these moves against, you know, women, these aggressive, violent moves, like you said yourself, Marissa, you know, they coming at you with hands on, you know, on their guns. It's just this mentality of, you know, we want to throw our weight around and show that we're so-called, you know, men, and that we're in charge. That has to be, you know, confronted and checked by, I'm gonna call to, especially to the warrior brothers, you know, on the front line. You know, we have to stand beside our sisters, stand with them, and be willing to, you know, go all the way if necessary to make sure.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. I feel like they're just very comfortable putting hands on anybody who gets in their way, depending on that particular cop's mentality. And even if it happens to be a woman, I also, aside from losing my brother personally, I have experienced police brutality multiple times. So hearing her story as well, deeply resonated with me. I wanted to ask you, what advice would you have for someone who may find themselves in that unfortunate situation of potentially being wrongfully and justly convicted?
Wow, that's a great question. Use the time, because you can't get that time back. That time is taken away from you, whether it be 6 months to 20 years. You can't get that time back, but you can invest that time into yourself, learning about yourself, the legal system, especially. Self-improvement is key. Emotional regulation. Also taking the approach like the Black Panthers took, turn the prison environment into a university. We have a lot of time on your hands. Study, and just don't study anything. Study self-development. Like I said, learn about the law, learn about different business ventures you can take. Turn that prison cell, that jail cell into a university. Invest in yourself, and also know that the powers that be are very afraid of anyone that is willing to take that time to dismantle the structure of violence and oppression that's coming at the people. So don't be naive about it. You will be under attack. You will be, if not openly, different tactics will be thrown at you to make you take your eyes off the prize. But study, fight your case, just never give up. That'll be my advice.
That's awesome advice. I feel like we may have forgotten one thing. Something that you and I are both into that can help people on their journey. If they're locked up with only so much stuff can do, I think investing in their physical fitness. Do you think that could be for anybody who is locked up? And I was once told by someone who was locked up, if you don't go to prison and read, work out, work on yourself, doing something wrong.
Oh yeah, it's needed. I mean, it's the fact that you have the different contraband in there. You got contraband as far as substances. Then you have, if you're not hooked to that, you have like the sugary snacks and stuff that people use to kind of escape and get addicted to. I saw inmates literally pass away, unfortunately, because they were addicted to sugar and won't exercise. I heard of inmates that I personally knew that got diagnosis from doctors, like, you need to exercise and put away these different cakes and these snacks, and not start taking care of yourself. And a lot of people was just like, they just gave up. So me, fitness is a big part of maintaining the warrior spirit and staying disciplined, because if you can get up and do what you do as far as physically with your routine, especially if you like in a depressed mode or you're just sad about something, a lot of those feelings can be addressed through your routine. It can keep you moving and going, because a lot of people don't realize, or maybe they don't care when they're incarcerated, that one of the main tools that the prison system uses against people is to make them content and not moving. They want to lock you down. They want to set you somewhere where you're used to not moving. You're just sitting around. You're being idle. That takes away a lot of your fire. And also it brings various health issues, which another way to keep them in business. So exercise is key. Only if you have, 10, 15 minutes. I know everybody doesn't have the same schedule, 10, 15 minutes a day, especially if you're incarcerated. Stick to that routine. If you fall off, get back on it. That'll be my advice, to stay on it.
Awesome. Dope. I just had to throw in some little fitness stuff in there. I know it's something that is helpful, I think in general for people. Okay, great. Well, I mean, I appreciate you coming on and sharing and seeing your post and your inspiration, your daily inspiration, honestly, is helpful and we see it.
Thank you. Same to you. Keep pushing.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, we're gonna get the next guest going. This going to bring up a family who is here with us today. We have the mother and the man's daughter. This is the family of Augustine Morales. I will let you ladies introduce yourself, share your location, your loved one's name, and what you'd like to share with the folks watching today.
Okay. Hi. First, I want to say thank you, Marissa, for always giving us a platform to share the story, meet with other families, and just, gather together. I appreciate all the stories I've heard so far. And just hearing everyone's story, puts you in that, and it takes you back to where, the day that it happened. And I know everyone understands and knows what we're feeling as we share. So it's nice to know that we do have, per se, a home that we can do this. So thank you, Marissa. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. My name is Marissa. I'm sorry, Marissa. She must be thinking about me. My name is Roxanne Morales, and I am the mother of Augustine Morales. He was murdered by SAC PD on November 14th, 2020. My son was attending a community event in the neighborhood that he grew up in, and he was shot in the back. The officer shot at him 13 times, hitting him 11, all in the back. My son did not even know that there was an officer behind him. The officer did not say one word, did not ask my son to drop his weapon. My son was a legal gun owner. What really needs to happen, and I know there are a lot of families that are, against guns. I am not one of those. I truly believe in the Second Amendment. I will fight for the Second Amendment, because once they take our guns, they will own us. We will have nothing to protect ourselves. So I have told my son, all my kids are legal gun owners. We have a right to bear arms, and the officers need to understand that. We have a right to bear arms. They cannot shoot just because someone has a gun. There needs to be a reason. Like I said, my son's back was turned to the officer. The officer did not tell my son to drop his weapon. One word, police, and my son would have dropped his weapon and had his arms up in the air.
I'll add to that. They didn't just take, my dad and my grandma's son. They took a community member, somebody that gave back to the community. Every year, my dad would go and do Christmas give backs in 3 different locations throughout Sacramento, give out wrapped Christmas gifts, lunch, hygiene items, all types of things to these people in need and who didn't have it. And that's who they stole from us. Somebody who gave back to their community, who cared about their community, not somebody out here just running amok. Not only that, but my dad had a business. He this is his business right here, 80s born, 90s raised, and they took more than just a human per se. They took much more than that. My dad left me behind and my brother, who is 14 now. But a month after my dad passed away, we found out my stepmom was pregnant. So that's what also kills me inside, is that my baby brother will never know my dad. He'll never hear his laugh, never feel that hug. My dad never even got the chance to know that my baby brother was coming here. And that's what kills me the most. Is that's how generational traumas start, you know. This baby was born to somebody to a man who was killed and shot by the police. Who knows what my brother's future is going to hold for him and how he's going to feel about authority when he gets older. And that's what they need to understand, is they're creating this generational trauma. There's no reason for us to be killed. There is no reason. And I want their kids and their loved ones to understand that they can't just be going around killing people. If I were to go and kill a man and shoot him 11 times in his back, I'd be behind bars. And the same needs to go for them. But on another note, we still are continuing my dad's legacy with the Christmas Give Back. We still do it every year. We go to Hagenwood, and why can't I think of it? Clayton B. Wire and Hagenwood Park. It's like the Sunday right before Christmas is when we usually go out there. We always post a flyer. You could also get a whole bunch of information on justiceforog.com. Do the number 4, not FOR, just 4 OG, and you could have see all the stuff that we do and what we're trying to accomplish and move forward.
Yes, so we do 2 annual events. The one that my son started, which is, we still call it Augustine's Annual Give Back, and that's at Christmas. And then we also do his birthday in May, and that's held at Hagenwood Park every year, closest to May 14th as possible, and everything is free. Events, food, jump house, games, toys, prizes. We do a lot, and we want to keep his memory alive, and this is the best way that we know how, because it's after Augustine's own heart, which is giving back to his community.
Ladies, thank you. Go ahead.
Just one more thing. Sorry, Marissa. Augustine was a funny man. I mean, he can turn any life event into a joke where you could laugh. If you knew my son and you were in a room with him, you were laughing. And that is, I think, that's the thing that hurts me the most. Is I need that laughter. I need that laughter that my son brought. And I don't have that anymore.
Thank you, ladies, so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here.
Yeah, no, and I just want people watching to know, I know this family personally now. I've been with them a bunch of times. So we're always welcome to their parties like family. And I can just always, I feel that loss with you guys. So always, you're always happy to uplift your story with you guys and stand with you.
Thank you.
We love you, Marissa.
We love you very much. You're one that has always been there for us and came out for everything that we've done, protesting and everything. You and your family, your mom and your dad, I appreciate all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for mentioning them, because my parents, shout out to them. Sometimes, it's hard doing all of this, but I know that I can count on my family to show up for other families too, my parents. And I think that's, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay,
love
you guys.
Thank you.
And I hope I know you have family stuff going on tonight. So thank you for joining, and tell everybody we say hello, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, guys. So we are going to move on to the next guest, and thank you to everyone who's here. We are going to bring to the stage the next family, which is Chris Dearman's family. His sister Patricia is here with us, and I think your dad was going to join. I don't see him in the backstage yet.
Hi. Yeah, my dad's actually in Hawaii right now. He's working out there for 6 weeks. But I think he's going to try to get on still if he can. Hi, everyone. My name is Patricia. My Christopher Dearman was my only sibling. He was my big brother. He was my sunshine. So I know what you mean when you say you need that laughter. We needed to. I don't know why it feels that God takes really the most special ones first with the most beautiful hearts, the most giving hearts. I think it's to hopefully spread a message, if anything. I really hope that my brother's life opens up the door and gives a voice to ex-felons whose lives are not valued, especially with ex-felons in possession of a firearm, because some of these ex-felons do live in fear and retaliation, and my brother was shot at before this happened to him. So we feel that he bought that gun to protect himself. We still have the bullet holes in our family Suburban. He was just in another neighborhood. Yes, my brother was already in the system. His name was already in the system. He had a past of going in and out of jail, and he spent more time in and out of jail than he did consistently at home. And that really affected him and his mental health. You know, being an ex-felon, being in and out of the prison system, we don't know what our people have been through. It's not like they can just tell us. It's not like they want to tell us, because I know my brother, he never wanted to burden anybody with his problems, so we never really knew his problems. And he would listen to us and our problems, knowing that his problems are way worse than ours are, but they'll never say that. He wouldn't be that selfish to stress somebody out like that. But I think my brother struggled a lot, very much so, emotionally. Having the history that he had, he was always getting pulled over. He couldn't drive down the street without getting pulled over. Every law enforcement officer pretty much just wanted to pull him over all the time. And it built a sense of insecurity, made his life a living hell. It made our life a living hell, dealing with all of this. It was very messy. Our family has always struggled as a family. And just before this happened, we were really at rock bottom. My brother was really at rock bottom after becoming unemployed. And he did put a ding in his Mercedes-Benz. And I know that's not a lot to complain about, but when you have nothing, the littlest things feel like everything. And I wanted to say that, you know, I always thought that I had a lot of problems, a lot of health problems, a lot of relationship problems. And there are worse things, actually, than what I was already going through. There is worse things than becoming a single mom, your daughter not knowing her dad, you developing gestational diabetes that never goes away, me having alopecia areata since the time a month before I turned 21. There are worse things than that. There are worse things than having to drop out of X-ray tech school or a career you really wanted because of health problems, because of family problems, because of tragedy that happened in my life. And I know what's important now. And what's important is being there for one another and digging deeper and deeper into your family's life that you can. Reaching out if you can. Whatever you do, I know it's hard, but don't ever give up on your family member, because the moment that you do, law enforcement will win. They do surveil our family members. They do stalk them. They do dirty setups. To be honest, I really don't know what my brother was doing that night. I was in the shower. He asked to borrow my car. At first I told him no because we had used my car that day and I just didn't want to waste any more gas. Then I took a shower. I felt better. And I told him he could, but it was too late. My brother was stubborn and I tried to give him my keys and he didn't want them at that point. And he told me he was going to go out. He was going to get foot powder. On the camera, he said he's bringing a friend a blanket. I don't know. He didn't tell me on the phone exactly what was happening. And I think the way the system is, we hold back a lot from being really clear when communicating at times because we're afraid of what a situation could look like or what they could try to blame me for. But I think it's really important that we are clear and we listen. My brother told my mom a month before this happened to him that he felt like he was being followed. And I believe it. My brother was very aware of his surroundings. You can even hear it on the video where he tells them that they've been followed, that they've been watching him since way back over there, since he had his engine running. He knew that he was being surveilled. And they pulled him over for a third brake light. And they just hung his past over all of his human rights, over his civil rights, over his constitutional rights, and they really violated him. And they told him his word meant nothing. They treated him like his word meant nothing. They made it very clear that they didn't value his life. They wanted to pull him out of the truck, and he didn't want to because he just kept repeatedly asking for his citation, and they never once tried to even give that to him. All they wanted to do was yank him out to do a weapons pat down to see if he had a firearm because he had a record of having a firearm on him. And he refused because he didn't want to go to jail. It could have been his third strike. He could have been gone for a very long time, and he had already had enough of being in jail. And he told my family that he would never go back to jail. And so when he refused, they just continued to escalate everything. They never once tried to de-escalate anything. They held him at gunpoint. He tried to drive 2 blocks before he put the car. When he put the car in drive, Sergeant Rene Murillo pepper sprayed him, and he could have easily killed another family for being pursued after being pepper sprayed. So I think it's really important that we look at how careful my brother was in the fact that he tried his best to behave on his best behavior, as respectful as he could be. He tried to go around a car that was on the road. So he did not crash and kill anybody, thank God. But when he got off the car, they never told him to drop his weapon. And I think that's where a lot of these killings occur, because if they don't give you that command to drop your weapon, then they oftentimes turn around and they're in fear and they're confused and they don't know exactly what to do. They don't know how to surrender probably. They don't know how to surrender properly. And by not saying that they need to drop their weapon, then they're not given the opportunity to respond if they want to comply to that command or not. So he started to get shot at, and I think in self-defense he raised his arms, and there's no proof he even shot at them. They say he did first, so therefore that justifies Jacob Myers shooting at him first. He said that he saw a puff of smoke and heard a pop, but nowhere in the videos do you see light up, and it was very dark. So you don't see that. You do see it coming from their side first. And so I feel like if my brother did fire, I think he did it in self-defense because he was already getting shot at. This whole thing has been a freaking nightmare.
Can you share with the group? I'm sorry. Can you share your Instagram again for your brother that I can put it in we could have it in the chat?
Yeah. And there was more that actually happened to my brother than just getting shot at. After he was shot at, well, he started to run across the street because he was afraid, and then he collapsed and drops his gun, apparently. They say it's far away from him, about 5 to 10 feet. And in some reports, they say they couldn't see it. But Aguilar says that he can see it as far away. He tells the sergeant that. And he falls to the ground. He's yelling in agony. Here is actually, to make a better picture, 2 days ago, I just wrote a complaint to 4 SCPD officers. And I did it while I was watching the video footage so that I could be very accurate, because these things happen and it seems and feels like a nightmare. And since they don't show all of the body cam footage, it's really hard to say exactly what happened. But
Patricia,
here's what it showed.
We're going a little bit over time, so we are going to have to, we're going to have to get on to the next guest. But if you can tell them again, you don't have to write it, but just say it out loud, your brother's Instagram, so they can know where to find you and find the updates and how to, all that good stuff that they can support you as well.
Okay, well, basically, they sent a dog to pull him closer to his gun, in the direction of his gun, and they let him bleed out for 40 minutes. And there's no law that says that they have to provide medical aid after somebody's been shot. And I think that's totally wrong. I feel like also people should be told to drop their weapon. I feel like pretext stops needs to end. I think that ex-felons should be given a certain time frame where they can regain their credibility in life, and so their rights are not violated like his was.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, thank you. Okay, we're gonna close this up. I'm gonna put your brother's justice page into the comments, and then I'm gonna introduce the next guest. Thank you so much for sharing, and we will talk soon, Patricia.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right, guys, we're going right on to the next guest. We have a few more people and about just over an hour left. So we have the family of Jaime Naranjo. I will bring his daughter, Erica, on. Here she is.
Hi.
I'm going to step out of it and let you introduce yourself, your dad, and what you would like to share with the audience, Erica. Thank you.
My name is Erica Naranjo. I am the daughter of Jaime Naranjo. I'm here with my mom, the widow of Jaime Naranjo. I'm holding space for my dad right next to me. I had so many things I wanted to say today. I had a whole speech. Me and you talked about it, but with all that technical difficulties, I feel that my dad doesn't want me to share certain things right now. But I am going to say, there's nothing heroic about murdering a man in his front yard during a mental health crisis. There's nothing heroic about killing anybody during a mental health crisis. This happens way too much. And hearing the stories that I hear, we have so much stuff in common, and it's not okay. Our communities deserve better. Our families deserve better. Our families and our loved ones should be here. My dad was a great man. He was kind. He was funny. He was a pillar of the community, a fisherman, a welder, a grandpa, a husband of 34 years. My dad had many adoptive children. My mom still lives in the house where my dad was killed. I don't know if this is too much, but let me see if I could flip the camera. Every day she walks out to have her morning cigarette, and she has to be reminded that my dad was murdered right here in front of her house. And this motherfucker is still working. You know, he's still, who knows, you know? But yeah, thank you, Marissa, for having us always. Thank you for giving us space to always talk about our loved ones. Thank you to everybody who's been here sharing their stories. I'm sorry. I wish I could hug all of you guys and give you guys just tight love. To the faces that I know in person, hey y'all, I seen you. I literally had a whole speech and things I wanted to say, and things go out the door. You know, I took those signs from my dad. So, Dad, I'm not gonna say shit yet, but thank you again, Marissa. Justice for Jaime, justice for all our families. I'm not gonna be too much because you can hear my kids yelling in the back. But you have anything you want to say, Mom?
No.
But yeah,
I just want justice. That's it. Just justice for my husband.
You know, Sacramento Sheriff, do better. Sacramento PD, do better. Stop sending men with guns to mental health crises. That mental health crises are not a crime, and we shouldn't be met with death. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Erica.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing. And I will talk to you soon, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, guys. So Erica lives in the city I live in as well. So I do know her in person as well. I've showed up for her family in person, and just really want to say it again. Mental illness is not a crime. You know, if cops are scared, they shouldn't be showing up to these type of calls, just ready to pull the trigger. It's just happening way too much. So we are going to go on to our next guest. I will pull him on. Dogtown Dro, hello.
Hello, you can hear me?
Yes, can hear you good. Go ahead and introduce yourself, your location, and go ahead and share with the people what you would, the message you would like to share. And again, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for this space. My name is Dogtown Dro. I'm in San Francisco, California. I'm abolitionist, unapologetic. I am formerly incarcerated. I've been wrongfully incarcerated. I'm currently, this week is actually 4 years. I'm out on bail for a case that's still pending here in San Francisco, stemming from the 2020 uprising and some Nazi Proud Boys coming to the city of Frisco. And I'll be respectful of the time and mindful and kind of run through a few things, because I'm gonna somewhat operate as a sort of a surrogate to some of these Black families in San Francisco that did not receive justice either, like everyone that's spoken so far. Mario Woods is where I want to start. Mario Woods' mom is god grandma to my newborn daughter. And Mario Woods, for anybody across the nation that may not be immediately familiar, young Black boy that was short stature, and he was murdered by SFPD firing squad style. And I'm gonna tie these together because there's a common theme of identity politics and state actors that look like us, but essentially operate on behalf of the white power structure in a utility to repress justice for Black people and obviously by extension other people of color. So Mario Woods was executed by 5 police officers that opened fire on him. And he was unarmed. He had a small knife, and just to be general, everybody I'm gonna mention was unarmed. But I don't want to use that as some sort of validation to suggest that because they were unarmed, they didn't deserve to be murdered. Because I know that our opposition likes to get into the gritty of, well, what did he do? What did he do? They want to find a end to validate and justify the murder of our loved ones. And I don't care. I'm like there was a brother that spoke before, that's been formerly incarcerated and wrongful. So, and the comrade, a couple speakers before, she went in about her brother being in and out of the system. And that's something that our opposition wants to hyper focus on, to validate and devalue us, value our lives. I know if something, God forbid, were to happen to me, that would be their immediate course of action: career criminal, prison time, this and that. They'll bring up stupid like social media posts and shit like that. I want to echo something that Mama Woods, Mario Woods' mama, is always saying. They peacefully arrested and detained Dylan Roof after he murdered several people in a mass shooting, but yet they pull us over for traffic infractions and traffic violations or alleged assaults, and we get killed in the street like dogs. Every life is of value, and whether you've been systematically fucked up by the system, whether you've been in and out of prison for whatever reason, it's all a result of the white power structures, oppression and repression of Black and brown and impoverished people. So we could talk about little details and little decisions that individuals could have or should have made, but it's all a result of that systematic oppression and repression. And this is just the far end of it. This is where it had led to. Moving on, Mario was executed, and the cop that led that execution was a Black police officer. And I can remind you all, Tyree Nichols was murdered by several Black police officers. So there's a rhetoric that we need more cops of color. They all operate and enforce white supremacy, oppression, and violence against us. Kiete O'Neill was running away from the police when he was shot and killed by Christopher Samayoa on his 4th day as a trainee. Samayoa was immediately fired, and his training officer was immediately reprimanded, and a lawsuit was settled between the family and the city. Yet, and even there was even homicide charges, because in 2020 we had a progressive DA, Chesabuddin, who filed the first homicide charges against SFPD in the history of SFPD. And I'm gonna come right back to that in a moment. So, spoiler, there was never justice and there was never a conviction. Sean Moore, another Black man, was shot by SFPD officer Kenneth Cha, and he was immediately absolved of any wrongdoing, even though the city settled a settlement with his family as well. 7 months later, he shot and killed another person. So we see that the act of police brutality, the act of oppression and excessive force, and even the act of murder, like any cop that murders somebody is likely to murder more people. Shout out to my sister and comrade Jazz on behalf of Derek Gaines' family. Joshua Cabrillo shot her best friend, Derek Gaines, and then went on to shoot another man in San Francisco. Shot Derek Gaines in South City, shot another man in San Francisco. That officer, I have testimony that officer was harassing a friend of mine off duty. So these pigs are gangsters essentially, and that blue line is real as shit. Dakari was beaten by SFPD, and that actually went to trial. The pig was acquitted, but during that trial, it came out that Joshua Cabrillo, the person that shot and killed Derek Gaines, Jazz's best friend, was stalking and trying to provoke Dakari into a street fight while he was delivering Uber Eats while the trial was pending. Dakari, rest in peace. That brother just got murdered this past summer. After going to trial, after reliving his trauma in trial, he suffered from immediate and severe depression, and a year and a half later, he got shot dead in the streets of San Francisco. Now, where I want to go back to regarding the prosecution and the optics is that San Francisco is unique in that I don't know what perceptions people might have across the nation and even across California. We are progressive. We are liberal. We have maybe one of the worst track records regarding police accountability that can possibly exist. Zero homicide convictions, and we got dozens and dozens of homicides in Frisco every year. We have a black mayor. We have a black DA that replaced the DA that filed those charges. We have a black police chief. We have a black president of supervisors. That is we are diminished by about 250% the black population due to gentrification. And these are 4 black actors that act in the utility of white supremacy, effectively oppressing and repressing black people in San Francisco and facilitating police impunity, because these people are all they're Democrats and they're progressives, but they're all financially empowered by Republicans and tech boomers and shit. So I say that to try to just reiterate that let's not get our hopes up by looking at people that might look like us in positions of power. The politicians ain't with us because every time they speak to us or with us, they're on a fucking pay clock. They're pursuing a career and they're paid actors. They know how to double talk us to boost their career points. Pigs of color. All these motherfuckers operate white supremacy, and they're all violent. Abolition is the answer. I don't want people to get their hopes up and get tricked up by reform initiatives, because we've been going back and forth. You see the pendulum swinging in the presidential office. Democrat, Republican, we keep going back and forth, and if you keep score, we're losing ground every fucking year. So that shit's a motherfucking joke. So let's please not let ourselves get tripped up by reform initiatives and electoral politics. We have to galvanize our power as community, same as the Nation of Islam, same as MLK's church congregation, same as the Black Panther Party, because the real change, the civil rights change, that shit happened grassroots in the motherfucking streets. It didn't happen in courthouses and with politicians and all of that bullshit. Abolition. That's why we can't fix this shit. These pigs gotta burn. We gotta cut their motherfucking jobs. Somebody said something about mental health crisis, and we got pigs showing up as first responders. Why the fuck is a pig showing up to a medical crisis, essentially a medical crisis? Because we buy too many hammers and we don't buy enough band-aids. If we save money on fucking hammers, then we can buy more band-aids and we can save more lives. But they got fucking hammers and they want to use them. Cop Watch and incorporating abolition and FTP into your lifestyle. I treat every police officer like he's either killed somebody or he is going to kill somebody, because too often we are permissive of them in our communities and in our spaces, and we don't give them the alienation that they give us when we are in violation of law or we're poor or whatever. And we just got to alienate these motherfuckers out of our spaces, because we are essentially giving them a red carpet to be in our motherfucking communities and a free platform to kill people. If a pig's on my block, he's not gonna hear the end of me. If I'm in a restaurant and a pig comes in, he's not gonna hear the end of me. We gotta stop letting these fucking pigs be comfortable in our neighborhoods. This is a national. Everybody across the country has the same story. I'm gonna try to close out, but please feel that none of y'all are alone, and we have to galvanize community. Another thing, people have dependencies on nonprofits. Please be wary of nonprofits. Be wary of anybody with a financial incentive of working with you or advocating for you. Find like-minded comrades and people that are really FTP to their heart, and learn about the viability of abolition, because divestment from law enforcement. Let's treat these fucking pigs the way Palestinians treat the IDF. We know they're not our fucking friends, and we know they're our occupying military force. I think that might suffice, and I could leave it with that. I thank you so much. Shout out to my comrade and sister Marissa and my comrade and sister Jazz, because they're not only afflicted family members, but they are immediate street frontlining comrades that are there for us, other families, as we are, as they're exemplifying here with this platform that's super invaluable. Thank you so much, FTP. My name Dogtown Dro. Justice for Mario Woods, justice for Kiete Icky O'Neill, justice for Sean Moore, justice for Dakari. And if we don't get it in the courts, then we can get it in the streets by community power and radical movement. Thank you so much for the time and the space, y'all.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't know about the audience, but I'm over here hollering and cheering for you, because you touch on a lot of stuff that needs to be said and needs to be heard and reminded to people watching, everybody. That is one reason why I invited you to come share some words, just from your posts, and seeing you stand up for family, seeing you in your everyday life, just really being on that cop watch shit if it crosses you, not just for likes, not just for attention, not just to say you did it like some of these people out here. So I definitely appreciate that realness, and it's just refreshing to hear you speak.
Appreciate the space.
Thank you again. Take care.
All right.
Bye. All right, everybody. So thanks again, once again, for anybody, for those watching. I am sorry that I'm hosting this and I'm not even on video. My video is not working for some reason. But we have our next guest coming on. This is an impacted mother. Her name is Karen Sutherland. I will let her introduce. Karen, introduce yourself, your location, your loved one's name, and whatever you would like to share with the group. Thank you. Oh, you're not muted. I think you're muted. Sorry.
Sorry. I just wanted to say the last one, Dogtown Dro, man, you hit a lot of good points. And I agree wholeheartedly. Cops are not our friends, period. Right here, as you see, I've been wearing this all day, even at work, under my scrubs, of course. I'm Karen Sutherland. I am the mother of Shane Sutherland. He was killed on October 8th of 2020 by two arrogant Stockton police officers. Shane simply called for a taxi, or asked the store to call for a taxi. And instead he was met with these two tyrants from Stockton PD, Ron Zalianardo and John Afanasiv. Shane was not committing any crime. He was simply standing in the store holding a bottle of wine. I have watched all of the videos, and at no time did he threaten anybody like their narrative said. One thing I've learned in this process of 4 years now is that anytime a cop kills somebody or abuses somebody, they will fish for any information on that person and create a false narrative to try to justify what they did to that person. In my son's case, it was Shane was threatening a store employee with a wine bottle. He was not. Even the store manager clarified that and said at no time was Shane threatening anybody. So basically what happened was they called Shane out of the store. He sat down, he complied with them. He was answering their questions. No, sir. Yes, sir. Being the polite person that he was all the time. He simply stood up. He turned around right into the officers, was not trying to run. He was slammed to the ground. He was handcuffed. He was on his stomach. He was pleading for his life and calling out for me, telling them that he couldn't breathe, and they kept ignoring his pleas for help. And we know what happened next. He was asphyxiated to death, which was proven on his autopsy by Dr. Bennett Amalu. Justice? There's no such thing as justice. I know we say justice and we want justice, but what is justice? We can't ever get our loved one back, and they never prosecute. Rarely do they ever prosecute. The district attorney of San Joaquin County, Ron Freitas, did not charge these two cops for killing Shane. I did file a civil rights lawsuit back in 2021. My family did settle for that. Earlier this year, we did a settlement with the city of Stockton, which if they pay you 1 penny, they are admitting guilt. So my point in that is, why aren't the cops being prosecuted? If the city of Stockton is admitting guilt by paying a settlement to the family, that means they are guilty, which means they need to prosecute the police, period. This has not happened. And, you know, we haven't stopped fighting. We're going to continue to fight for that type of justice, for the cops to be prosecuted. But we all pretty much know how that happens. I also wanted to mention that my son was a football coach for the youth football team. And what I have been doing is I sponsor the team every year. In his honor, they do hang his banner at every home game with his picture on it to remember him by. The whole team misses him, and they are involved and supporting us in our journey for this. I also wanted to speak for the mom, for Patrick Wetter. His mom passed away. Her name is Holly Quigley Papke. She passed away a couple of years ago, and Patrick Wetter was also killed by Stockton PD. He was shot several times. He had a small knife on him, which he was not threatening anybody. The cops released their canine onto Patrick, and the canine was biting him repeatedly. He had a lot of bites all over him, and he did puncture the dog slightly with his knife to try to get it off of him, but the cops continued to shoot him multiple times and killed him. And I just wanted to have a shout out to him and to his mom, who has passed away. I want to thank Marissa and Voices of Strength for having us on and giving us this platform to talk about our loved ones. And we shouldn't even have to have a day like this every year of O22. This shouldn't even be a thing, but it is, unfortunately. So continue the fight. Justice for all.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for, just standing strong in this fight and being by my side too. Okay, you guys, justice for Shane Sutherland. Thank you for everybody who has spoken. We are going to go on to one more speaker next, and then we have about 45 minutes left. So one more speaker, short break, and then we will do a short panel at the end with the speakers who are here with us and those who want to participate. So if there are any questions that anybody watching has, or any topics you guys would like to ask, if you guys want to ask anybody specifically on the panel, you guys can do that when we come on, or you guys can start dropping questions. So I'll keep my eye on the comments. And for now, we will bring an impacted sister, Antoinette, the sister of Angel Ramos. Go ahead and introduce yourself, your brother, location. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I got it right on time. I just got off work. My name is Antoinette. I am the sister of Angel Ramos, who was killed in Vallejo. We're currently in Vacaville. I'm in Sac right now. which I was gonna say was actually working stack every day. So yeah, so Angel was killed in 2017. Just I guess like a little quick background real quick about me. I started organizing and doing like work around police brutality 2015, 2016. And I would advocate like all the time, always meeting families on that, like from the outside looking in, just always being there, showing up, supporting, hugging the moms, especially out in LA because that's where I was going to school at the time. I had actually just got done coming from a protest that was lifting up the names of Black women who were being killed in the jails in LA. 2 days, not even a full 48 hours before Angel was killed. And I remember like that morning just getting a call. My 9-year-old nephew, I was like in my room in my college dorm, and I get a text and from my 9-year-old nephew again, and it said, "TT, please call me. Angel's dead." And when I called, all he said was, "The police killed Angel. Like, you know, my mom's in a police car." So just like all of this stuff, like my brain just in the moment was like, what the fuck? Like I couldn't believe it. Like all the work I had been doing, all of the stuff I had been doing, like as many times as I would preach, I would be in front of like crowds and crowds and talk about like it could always be you, it could always be somebody you know. But I had never prepared myself for it to be me. And so Angel was killed 2017, January 23rd, by Officer Zachary Jacobson. There was a call to the police saying that there was a house party, which there really was only 7 to 8 people in the house, which was all family. People were drinking and, of course, started fighting. The fight broke out when the officers arrived. Jacobson tried to say that Angel was making a jabbing motion as if he was stabbing somebody. The person that he was fighting already testified. There was no knife ever found at the scene. Um, and then even though it was like 12 something in the morning, it was raining. It was high up on a porch. There was trees covering. So there was so much that the officer wasn't even able to really see, but just assumptions that were made. Angel is a Latino man. The description the night that the officer went to give the interview about, they asked him like, can he describe the person that he killed? He described a Black man with blue jeans and a white t-shirt on. Angel is a Latino man, and literally the only thing he had on was boxers and a rosary. No shirt, no socks, no pants, no anything. So it's like if you can't even describe the person that you're or using a stereotypical as description of a Black man that we know that they use so often. How are you saying that you've seen a knife being used in a jabbing motion? EMT arrived, firefighter officers arrived. There was no knife found. This was on the back porch of our house. Later on, a lot of videos came out. They tried to say that they did have some knives and evidence with my brother's DNA test on it, DNA on it. Later, come to find out, one of the officers, after touching Angel, had Angel's blood on his hands, washed his hands in our sink. The blood got onto the knives. He then grabbed the knife out of the sink and put that into a bag as evidence. And so, yeah, it was like either the knife grew feet, walked back into the house that my brother had, or just that's what it was. There was no knife ever found. I don't know, for those of you who are not familiar with everything that's going on Vallejo, there is this thing called badge bending. And so the officer that killed Angel is a part of that. And so what it was is basically the officers will kill somebody and they would go out and celebrate for drinks, pizza, and they would bend a tip on their badge for every person that they killed. The officer that killed Angel did go on paid administrative leave, came back 6 months later, and was involved in killing someone else in Vallejo, Jeffrey Balboa. And in the interviews and everything that came out, it was said that Jacobson bent his badge not once but twice, one for my brother and one for Jeffrey. And so it's just been a lot of bullshit in Vallejo. For those who are familiar, they know like it's hella corrupt. There was never no justice. There is like the thing that the ACLU is trying to push to get the officers like decertified. Unfortunately, because of the time frame of when it happened, it doesn't qualify. It doesn't go for Jacobson. They also actually just said that because of the lack of officers that they had, they're now allowing retired officers to come back. So it just it's a lot of bullshit going on in Vallejo. A lot of corruption. Majority of the people that have been killed in Vallejo are by repeated offenders, repeated officers who have killed more than once, who have bent their badge more than once. So yeah, it just time and time again been bullshit. And so that's something that's ongoing. We did settle 2 years ago. And I like how somebody said that I think a lot of times like families get bashed for settling, but at this point it's just like what else? You could keep fighting. You could keep fighting for other families. The very least they can do, and if they are offering the amount of money that they offer for families, then yeah, they're guilty. They know they wouldn't be offering millions of dollars to families if it wasn't the case. If they knew that it wasn't true, and so it just Vallejo been full of bullshit. And I miss my brother. My brother is full of. It's been going on 7 years. And I'm sure many of you can attest to it. Like, it still feels like yesterday. There's days that I miss them, just like, damn. That pain doesn't go nowhere. The fight doesn't go nowhere. But I have personally, like, reached a point of, I don't know, just like exhaustion. And I think I'm ready to just like work on other healing stuff. And sometimes I just need a break. And I don't know. I think like that's where I'm at right now. With everything, and no matter what, like when things do come up, like again, I'm here when I have the opportunity to speak for my brother. I'm always going to do that. I work with kids. I keep his picture on my phone when my kids ask about him. At work, I'm always constantly sharing his story. And so it's just, time is going by, but I don't know, it's the same shit. It's the same shit. I don't y'all have any questions? I know it's a lot of stuff like with Vallejo, a lot of corruption. Even like they did have, somebody was talking about how like we'll have like black people in place and nothing really still happens. One of the chief of police that was a black man, he actually was able to fire one of the officers. Unfortunately he left. Not unfortunately, he left. When he left, come to find out from people from the inside, he was receiving death threats for firing the officer. And then he ended up stepping down. The officer that did get fired ended up getting brought back to the police force. So it's just a lot of shit. Vallejo got a lot of shit going on. And I think I reached that point of exhaustion because for me, somebody said like justice, they could go to jail. Okay, to me, that's not justice. Like justice would be my brother still being here, my brother still being, the light in every room that he walks in. My brother still going out in nature. My brother still being able to do the things that he loved. That's justice for me. And if I'm being honest, like the justice I want to see, like that officer don't deserve to live. And that's just me. That's just how I feel. Everybody has their opinion and their takes on stuff. I'm not one to give a fuck about forgiveness when it comes to this type of stuff. I think just off the simple fact, these officers know what they're doing. Especially with the badge business. So it's one thing, like if you feel like you really fear for your life and that's some bullshit that you're trying to say, although of course you got the upper hand, you the police. But if you're doing shit and you're going out and you're celebrating, like I say all the time, like my brother's not a fucking trophy. He's not something that you could go, that's just not, he's a person, he was a human, and truly, truly lived up to his name, Angel. Like, and anybody that knows him knows, like, that was the perfect name for him. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on and sharing. I know you just got off of work. I didn't know you were in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you hit some good topics, like important topics, the settlement part. People do look down on families, or, there was a time when we were in our fight with my family, which my family settled earlier this year, but I did have a feeling before that. We go through a process, the knowledge, and you evolve as, just what we're doing. So there was a time when I felt like we needed to go all the way to trial if we have the opportunity, which I still do believe every victim deserves their day in trial. But what people might not understand is if we go to trial, that's like, what the hell is that going to do to us? What's that going to do to our mothers having to see our loved ones, their sons?
And the fucked up thing, like with the whole badge bending situation because everything been under investigation, and they just decided, a judge just ruled that they decided to not make everything public. A lot of the cases that were found to be like the officer bent their badge for that person, the information that got brought out from the badge bent and stuff, none of that information can be used in a court case. So even taking it to trial,
Yeah.
it couldn't be used in the court case anyway. So it's like all of it's like, okay, we know the truth, but
Yeah.
even like that, essentially, like, to choose, like, obviously you're hiding. Imagine all of the information that we already have. Imagine what they're still hiding because they won't make it public. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just, yeah, it's bullshit. And at the end of the day, like, yeah, it's money, but it's blood money. It may be like a change of scenery. You can move, get out of the space sometimes just to breathe, and not always constantly having to like wake up in a space where your loved one was killed, because that's where my mom lived.
Yeah.
So it's just, it was a lot. But moving into a new space also is like, you're moving into this new space. And for me, it was like, I was feeling guilty. It was a feeling of guilt. It was like, damn, I'm moving into this new physical space where I will never be able to make physical memories with my brother. So it's a
Yeah.
lot. It is a lot. It's
Yeah.
more than just receiving the money.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll touch on that is for people watching, as a family, like we're as sisters, we're not on the lawsuit. We're not gonna, we're not getting anything. We've been fighting for our brothers, for the fight. But I know the money, did it make my mom feel better? My dad
Right.
feel better? My nieces? No, fuck no.
Right.
No.
Right.
It actually, it feels worse when
Yeah.
receiving that. So thank you for sharing on those important topics. We're gonna go to a video, guys. It's less than 10 minutes long. A guest that was gonna join us today is Trina Miller. Her son is Trey Sean Miller, and she was not able to get in. We were having some technical difficulties, and I actually created a video for her to summarize her son's killing about a year or so ago. So I'm gonna play that short video, and then when we come back, the families that are still here, if you guys want to stay for the panel discussion, we'll have some questions that I've already, we have some questions, and then we'll take some questions from those here watching with us. So hang tight, guys. Thank you guys again. It's not easy retelling, this stuff, but in a weird way, for me, like, retelling and standing with other people and knowing that, we're still here, we're still representing, that's something. I know one thing too, because I do post a lot of killer cops and regular cops. One thing is they hate to be put on blast and they hate the truth to be out there. So I will just give me a second. I'm gonna pull this video up and then we will get back on. Anybody, again, family members who want to join the panel, feel free to stick around. And I do want to say justice for Jimmy Lopez. I see your family up in here. I know you guys, it's fresh, it's hard, but I see you guys in your fight. I see a bunch of families in here. So justice for all our families, whatever that may mean for somebody. And yeah, I'll just be a minute with this video. I do want to give another trigger warning. Again, this is I've been messing around with different multimedia pieces to put together to get our messages out there. I have found that folks have a short time span, typically, attention. So I started doing short videos. I started summarizing. I just been doing different things to help summarize our stories, because I do know our stories are very complex. And when we start sharing the details, it's hard to catch. It's hard to just catch on. And our stories are crazy that sometimes the truth is some people might not always believe us. All right, guys, just a few seconds. I'm gonna get this video up here. Thank you.
He was a militant. He was
He was a militant. He was giving word and speaking and educating based on what he felt in his life and his experiences. He was a spiritual being, and he taught from his heart based on the situations and things that we have seen in our lives as his parents, what his cousins have experienced, what other people have experienced in the criminal justice system and the religious system and all the systems that are in America. He spoke from the heart. Trayshawn's experience with police brutality from Arlington Police Department didn't just begin on January the 11th during that traffic stop. He had actually had a he had actually had a prior police brutality incident. March 8th of 2017 at the age of 18. What other people have experienced in the criminal justice. Trayshawn's experience with police.
All right, guys. Sorry that I'm having some technical difficulties. I trust that you guys can hear me. And from what I'm being told in the comments is that the video was skipping. I'm going to try to play it again. If not, I will just share, give you guys an overview of it.
Arlington Police Department didn't just begin on January the 11th during that traffic stop. He had actually had a
All right, guys. So this video is giving me trouble. And Trina is someone who I've talked to about her son's case, obviously a lot because I interviewed her for this. So, and she was going to be a guest. So I'm going to go ahead and just give you guys a quick overview for Trayshawn and his story. His is a little different. And so I appreciate what Dogtown Dro said earlier. How people are often quick to be like, well, what did they do? Or did they have even if someone had a gun, how one of the mothers mentioned earlier, her son had a gun that he was able to have. He had a permit for it. So Trayshawn's story, he actually was brutalized by the police department that killed him 2 years prior. So when he was, I believe, 18, he was brutalized, he was hospitalized, and he experienced police brutality as a teenager. I won't go into all the details. I really just want to uplift his name and Trina as well as his mother, as she's been in this fight. She's also a board member with Voice of Strength, so she's helped to make decisions with our, how we run stuff and things that we've done. So definitely appreciate people and her. Trayshawn and his friends got pulled over by these police at night. They were already being shady. The police was trying to make them all get off their phones, not be on their phones. And that's when Trayshawn asked, and they were saying it was for police officer safety. Trayshawn asked what about their safety? And he tried to ask for a superior, just like we're taught to. You know, there are a lot of stuff out there for know your rights, and unfortunately, even if we use all the steps, it doesn't always work. So Trayshawn did try to get a superior out there. They pretty much laughed at him. These young folks, I believe there's three of them in the car, and Trayshawn ended up being shot. He did run after the police came. He eventually tried to run. His mom, she makes it clear that she's not mad at him for that. She supports every decision he made at that night because he's the one that had experienced brutality before. And something people, when they're looking out from the outside in, and just like some of the survivors who have shared with us today, the trauma after someone has been brutalized by police, it's real, and it's traumatizing. It's very impacting for people. I've talked to a lot of survivors, many who don't share their stories and have no want to go public about it. A lot of people just keep it to themselves. So Trayshawn ended up getting shot, and the thing is that he didn't die. He did not die. They, like they often do, hours. They leave the victims out there. They delay medical care, or they call off medical care. This happened in my brother Michael Barrera's story. Medical was called off twice. And that's because they weren't trying to save him. They did not want him to survive. So with Trayshawn, this was something I had not heard of happening before. And I have heard some crazy stories with interviewing impacted families. They actually drove him to different hospitals out of town. They actually, and one of the crazy things was one of the ambulances actually broke down on the way. There were, I believe, 3 different things that stalled them getting Trayshawn to the hospital. So I will leave the link because we do have this video on YouTube. So I will put it in the comments so people can go there to watch it in full. It is actually a really good informative video. The trigger warning I was really giving for, because in this video we do share Trina. She has a clip when they first learned that Trayshawn was dead. So she did give me permission to use that in the video, and it's just any mom or anybody who has lost a loved one, I mean, especially these mothers losing their kids, what you know about that scream that just, you don't even remember doing it. You don't even probably know you could make that sound, but you hear that. And we share things like that to really show people, what we're dealing with. There's a lot of corruption in Trayshawn's case, and because he ran, because of certain things, Trina got backlash, and people want to blame him, even though policies are violated when the cops are helping cover up or delay medical care. There's a lot of I think in all of our killings, our loved ones' cases, policies are violated. All of the policies in some of the cases, and they're still not being held accountable. So just wanted to uplift Trayshawn here. I'm going to put a short countdown for a short break before we break into the panel. And I would just be bringing those who are in here. If there are any of our guests who are watching on YouTube who want to come back in for the panel, leave a comment and I'll send you the link again. So yeah, just a few minutes, guys, and we're going to get right into the panel. I'm going to put 3 minutes on the timer. All right, guys. Thank you guys for hanging out for that quick 5-minute break. I thought I was going to do 3, but it's been almost 3 hours. So I appreciate you guys sticking it out with us and sharing and engaging in the dialogue. I know we have a lot of comments that we missed. So if there's anything more. And for this panel, the people who joined as guests will be answering these questions. If anybody in the comments who would like to potentially join us in the future, impacted families, system impacted folks, for future conversations like this, send me a message, because I really hope to keep continuing to do this kind of stuff and uplifting our stories. Okay, guys, we are going to end at 7. So we just got about 13 minutes, if I can count properly. So we have our folks back on. It looks like everybody has their camera off. You guys can stay on. Can you guys hear me? Because I just got a message saying someone can't hear me. So let me know, guys. Okay. So, Christiana, if hopefully your audio, I think Jaws hopped off. So there's just a few of us, and we just have a few more minutes. So let's go ahead, and I will, since I don't think I caught any questions, if anybody has a question, drop them. We'll have time just for a couple questions, but I did get a couple questions prepared in case not. So I will ask the other folks on this one the first question. And whoever wants to answer this, feel free to just start talking. And if somebody else wants to add something, they can do that after. How has your perspective on justice evolved since your journey first began? And what does justice truly mean to you now? So, Karen.
Is this, I'm sorry, is this for me or for just anybody of us on here?
Oh, so you guys are all on the screen now? So you guys are all on the live. So whoever wants to grab the question first.
Oh, okay. Do you want us to speak it or type it?
You could talk it. Yeah. So you 3 ladies that are still on with us, whoever wants to have at it. And I have a couple more questions. So
can you repeat that question real quick?
Yes. How has your perspective on justice evolved? You 3 ladies that are still on with us, whoever wants to have at it, and I have a couple more questions. Is that? So can you repeat that question? Can you guys? Sorry, I had a little weird thing happen.
I can hear you, but it was like echoing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I heard myself talking. Okay, let me try this again. So, how has your perspective on justice evolved since your journey first began? And what does justice mean to you now?
So I'll take that one. I guess, like I said, during my time that I was talking, we're all a bit naive to this stuff before this happens. So as far as justice, the reason I say there is no justice is because I truly feel there is no justice. How can there be justice when they kill your kid? How can there be justice when they kill your loved one? What is justice? I know we say justice. I have a Justice for Shane Sutherland Facebook page, Instagram, Linktree, all that stuff. But I guess justice to me now would mean that the cops that are responsible for my son's death would actually be charged and be given time in prison where they belong. Okay. That is my take on justice. And that's what I want. There's no amount of money that you could pay me or my family that would ever be justice. I do not take money as being justice. That is not what justice is. It's very rare that they ever prosecute these cops that kill and abuse our loved ones. As in my case, it was less than 5 months after George Floyd was killed in the same exact way. You know, they knew better. They knew better than that. And, but yet the district attorney did not charge. So again, justice, in my opinion, really doesn't exist. Would I like for some form of justice in a, for them to actually pay for what they did, not in a monetary way? Yes. Money is not justice. For them to be held accountable would be more of a form of justice. That's my opinion. And I've been doing this now for 4 years, and I've been in this. I'm a mother, an impacted mother that lost my son. And that is how I feel about it.
Thank you, Karen. Does anybody else want to answer that one or want me to go to the next one? I'll go to the next one, you guys. I think it's just ladies on with us. So I want to ask, and actually, let me see. I think someone else, Antoinette, just joined, so I will add her to the panel. Jazz, you joined again too. I didn't see you too. Come back in.
Yeah, I lost signal. Can you hear me?
Yeah, me too. I have to keep doing it, coming back and going back in.
Okay, well, we're all back, so I'm gonna go ahead to the next question. And whoever wants to answer first can take it. How has your community shown support during your fight for, and I actually would like to hear from, let's hear from Christiana first on this, Christiana, sorry. And if somebody else wants to answer afterwards, but I'm curious as a survivor and as a woman. So if you could answer this one, how has your community shown support during your fight for justice? And how do you think communities can better stand behind impacted families/people? Christiana, are you there? I know she was having some trouble hearing the audio, so if someone else wants to answer that question.
I can go, Marissa.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
I think for me,
Can you hear
sorry, go
me?
ahead.
Yeah, we can hear you. We'll let you go, and then we'll hear Antoinette answer that one next. Christiana, are you there? I know she was having some trouble hearing the audio, so if someone else wants to answer that question.
Okay. Am I hearing? Can you hear me, Marissa?
I can hear you.
Hello? Okay. So I think one thing I would say is like not a lot of families like know what to do. I think because I was doing the work, we were fortunate enough to have a lot of community show up. There was people that I got connected with, just like through organizing. But I feel like it was a lot of more outside sources, like people outside of Vallejo that showed up for us. Like a lot of people out of Oakland, a lot of people from like other cities would come into Vallejo. But the city of Vallejo, aside from other families, haven't really. I don't know. Like they've shown. I don't know. I just feel like Vallejo, the community has been so stagnant. And I know like more and more people have been showing up. So I think like I seen Bridget on here earlier. Little things like my mom will post a picture of Angel and Bridget will create a poem out of it. Or like Al. Shout out to Al. If y'all know Al, Al
Yes.
has showed up for everything that we do. Like from Jump One, bringing like food, candles, whatever, being security, making sure that we're getting across the street safe. Like if we're having any actions, just always being that lookout, like really being like that uncle that's there. And so but most of all, I think like the other families in Vallejo have like really been our biggest source of community and feeling like, you know, like we're not in it by ourselves. And I know probably y'all from y'all experience, like it's similar in a lot of cases. If it's not a big city that has already had that type of movement, you know, and even like when we moved to Vallejo in 2012, Mario Romero had just got killed. And there was not a lot of movement there too. Like I know his family was doing a lot, but the city itself was not showing up. Community wasn't showing up. But I think the more and more that things have been happening, we have been seeing like more of like a show up of support. But a lot of the support has been from outside communities, and that has really helped us like push through. And I wish that a lot of people, more people in Vallejo would show up. I think a lot of people will like talk a good talk online and say, oh, we're going to be there, but when the time is there, like unless it's something that's making a national headline, like when George Floyd, like yes, show up and support, but when it's the families that's been calling out for support, nobody's there unless it's something that people can be there on the forefront,
Yep. We see that all the
if that makes
time.
sense. So
Yeah, okay.
but yeah, I think it's got a little better, but
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I definitely agree and relate to that, what you shared. Does anybody else want to answer that question, or I can also do another question if not?
Marissa, I'm back in here. Can you hear me?
Yes, nice and clear.
Perfect. So I'm so glad you and asked that question because I have been dying to speak about that. And I hate to say this, but it's my truth. I honestly feel like because I am a survivor and I'm like quote unquote surviving, that I haven't received as much like community support. So I can relate to what Miss Antoinette had mentioned about not receiving a lot of community support for whatever reason. I have noticed that a lot of Bay Area blog sites, Instagram pages have like reposted my story and like said a couple things, but personally reaching out to me, that's been very obsolete. No one has been reaching out to me, and that has been making me ask the question as to why. And for me, it's become very political. And what Dog Pound had mentioned earlier about these organizations being in the back pockets of certain politicians, so it's like a catch-22. So I have been tirelessly advocating for myself, having to like make public posts addressing Mayor London Breed, like tarnishing her character a little bit as to why the mayor of our city, who is also a Black woman who I look up to as a big sister, why have you not at least addressed what happened to me? That's all I truly wanted. Like, I don't care too much about the financial means or any of that. What matters to me most is some change and solutions and just community building, because this happens way too often to where, like, when are we going to nip it in the bud? Like, how are we going to allow this to keep happening and keep happening? And a lot of us have children who are still here. And I would be, like I mentioned earlier, I'd be damned if my children experience this. And that's why I'm so fierce in advocating about my situation and survivors too, because I feel like survivors, are like swept to the side a little bit. It's like, okay, you made it through, you'll be all right. But it's like, I'm not okay. I put a mask on very well. I wear a mask very well because I'm a mother, and I'd be damned if I allow my children to see me weak in the knees all the time. They need me to be resilient. They need me to be strong. And at this point, I feel like it's time for me to start building my own table instead of asking for others to advocate for me. And so it was by the grace of God that I got introduced to you through a mutual friend. And I did my background research on you before I even reached out, because I have been hesitant now to even just reach out to people, because a lot of times the door has been getting slammed in my face.
Yeah.
So
No, I like that, and that you did your research on me. Please, I do the same thing, and I do tell impacted folks, like, be careful out here. Not everybody has genuine intention. Sometimes people want to hop on the bandwagon when it's trending or a popular thing. But yeah, I'm really glad, once I started reading the question, I just instantly thought about you and like the response. And I imagined, honestly, it was something like that, sadly. But I'm glad you're here and you're speaking. That's a step. Sometimes a step to, get on and start speaking. You start speaking more, and you start meeting more people, you start building, and you keep going. So thank you for sharing. I did want to get a question to Patricia. And you guys, we just hit 7:01. I just want to go over one more question. So those of you who are still here, if you guys don't mind just hanging out a couple more minutes, a few more minutes, I won't go past 7:10. And there is one question I kind of want to direct. I saw in the comments, but I'll only do that if there's yeah. So let's Patricia, I have a question for you. What would you say to someone who is brand new to this fight, who may not understand the depth of police violence, and what would you feel is the most important things to let them know?
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I would like to say that for somebody new, we're barely about to go on 2 years, and it hasn't in any way been easy, especially gaining support. I would say just remember the love that you have in your heart for your loved one, and that will be your strength. Because there are so many comments, and just don't even read the comments of the public that are on the body worn, that are on the videos and stuff like that, because it will just totally discourage you, hurt you, like try to break you down, but don't let it. Just keep going. Even if you have to stand up there alone, do it, because that was your person that they took. And there's no justice, really, either. And somebody once told me there's, whether the person was not even armed, sometimes they still kill him. So it's a very tough battle, but just keep that love in your heart and just keep going, even if nobody else will stand up with you and hardly anybody shows up. You do it, you keep going, and before you know it, you will have made some progress, whether it be going to CPP meeting, Commission on Police Practice meetings, or city council meetings. Just keep moving up a notch and keep on fighting for your loved one, because it's not easy. Not everybody gets justice, even when those are about to get justice. Sometimes at the last minute, everything can be revoked. So, just keep shining that light so that your voice is heard and that the changes can be made that need to be changed in the law, because they don't get changed easily. And sometimes it takes our losses to point out the obvious of what's wrong in the laws.
Yes, thank you. That's really good, especially to tell just a first person, even just from the comments that people
Marissa, can I touch on something?
yeah.
Am I echoing? I hear it. Okay, there it goes. Am I echoing? Can you hear it echo?
Yeah, you are.
Is it working? Never mind. I don't want y'all to hear it. Okay, I want y'all to talk. Okay, it's still up, and I'm gonna just say real quick. I think that a lot of times we think of like what we need to keep doing to fight and fight and fight. But what I've learned, like going into 7 years, is to live. Like live for that person. Do the things that that person would love to do. Go on trips, enjoy life without like the guilt weighing you down. And I just think that it's taken just within the last year to really understand that. And so that's just some advice I wanted to give. Like when it's new, it's so much easier said than done. But like fighting, you're always gonna have to fight. But like live, live.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. You were echoing, but I heard the message, and it sounds like I'm echoing now.
Yeah, you are echoing.
Let's see.
It's the feds.
Right? I wouldn't be surprised.